Namaskar. Today the session is almost over about the cultural and the impact, uh, a brief kind of summary overview. And we are going to go to the next part, um, kingdoms of Bharatvarsh. Because we did not, so far we have not talked about what happened after the Mahabharata war, who were the kings and who were the notable personalities impacting Indian culture and civilization. Um, and many people must be wondering that history is about a lot of names of the kings and whoever was their foreign minister or your Senapati, and where are the names of those dynasties and kings? So, and that was, I remember when we were students, that was the most boring part, remembering the names. And those names were, some of them were tongue twisting. So, and we were wondering why are we remembering them? So today we will understand to what extent we are going to remember the kings and to what extent we are going to remember the people who they represented or ruled. So, having said that, uh, diversity of Indian customs. So, first we are going to do the assimilation within the country. With all those 4 or 5 variations, we did Zoroastrians, Jains, Bauds. Now, all of these people, different ways of reaching the self-realization or the divine, connecting with the divine, and various customs and all that. So within the country itself now there is a lot of diversity, and yet there are undercurrents of the common thread. So most people these days, with the help of anthropology and sociology and communism, they interpret people into classes which do not correspond to the realities of Indian culture. So Indian culture is we have mentioned before, it is contiguous, it is continuous, and it has antiquity. So great diversity of customs because of seasonal variations. So New Year for the harvesting New Year, it begins in different parts of the subcontinent at different times. And it depends, where the summer comes early and the harvest is early. So those variations are there. And customs, of course, the clothing, the dress styles, and the food, and the ways of prayers. So food habits and dress styles because of climatic condition, prayers in their regional language. Now this is something which we have to remember, and many people, consider that they are a completely different language setup. It is not. The North Indian languages, we can more or less, see the similarities, and that they are derivatives, and that the languages are mixed with the, they're a little bit Sanskrit is corrupted down the line. So Pali was easier language for them, for the people. Prakrit was easier. And because of those influences and the less grammar, it the languages became different. And the southern India's languages, the Tamil and Telugu, they say that these are Scythian languages, but we have no proof of that. Many of their words are Sanskrit words. Freedom of choice to interpret the Dharmic literature. This is unifying factors. All ideas may be valid, but still inadequate at the same time. So we say that whatever you are saying is correct partially. Who am I to judge what is perfection or what is the poor and divine? So it is valid but inadequate. Reason. So regional conditions, not because of differences in core value. So reason for this diversity is regional conditions and not because of the core values or clash of values. That is the point which is being highlighted in history, which is taught in India, shamefully, and history which is taught globally. So they are saying this versus that, this oppress, this oppressor, and this is the oppressed, and this is the process. So a lot of stretch of imagination and linguistic stretching, and they have brought out differences at the forefront and commonalities they have ignored. So we have forest dwellers, they had different customs. Tribes, they had different customs. Atheists, though they did not believe any specific divine entity or could give the name or even acknowledge the existence. Um, and an agnostic who would question. So at the end of the line, these Vaishnav, Shaivites, Jain, Baud, Parsi, Jews have specific Isht Devata. Out of all the devas that we worship in Sanatana Dharma, we worship a whole lot of specific energies and then the specific idea of the infinite. Finally, it is an idea, how you perceive it or how you think of it. So then many small villages, they have their own Ishtadevta. I remember visiting a village. They were worshipping the cobra. They said our Ishtadevta is Nag, cobra. So that was pretty interesting. And they were actually, putting their rice and milk. So they are snake worship. And from there, the British almost included in the history books that India has animists, those who worship animals. And then they said that everybody is worshipping Ganesh and Hanuman. So how can we say that this specific group is animist? And with the divine grace, we were spared that. So we are not animists. Debates and discussions versus killing or violent conflicts. This must be highlighted in the mind as well as in any debate or teaching to the young children. Debate and discussion, they are open ended. At the end of it, we may not agree with each other, but we tried. Okay. So, diversity of Indian society and religious traditions is unique in the world. They are coexistent. They are coexistent. So many Buddhist and Hindu temples exist side by side, not just in Sarnath or places in India, but places like Cambodia and nearby places, um, Thailand. They have side by side, a Ganesh temple, small, and then Vishnu temple, and like that. So, in their mind, there is no conflict and no dilemma either. But in the mind of those who interpret the reality, they create their own perceptions and distortion. So, fundamental pillars are spread of Bharatiya culture. Now we are talking about not just assimilation within, but how it spread to other places, almost the entire Indian subcontinent and beyond. So it went all the way up to Ukraine. At least that is I could trace. I met a person from Ukraine in one of the conferences, and I remember and that what she was talking was exactly worship of the elements. So unity in diversity, coexistence and harmony. And that is the message which went to other countries. So in China or any other place in ancient days, there was no clash anywhere. And the fact that it is the coexistence of the temple is there, and they celebrate all the um, festivals connected with the epic events. So that says a lot. Non-interference of royalty. This is another extremely important point. At no point of history, ancient history, there was a mandate from the king that you will follow this religion or you will be crucified or lynched or tortured. So there was no interference of royalty. And I will give one example where it was attempted and was not successful. So where the king tried to interfere. So the king will be offering shelter and entertaining people, whoever, whatever they believe in. So now they were allowed the freedom of choosing their own faith. So if the king is Buddhist, his subjects may be following any number of religion, dharmas. So Chandragupta, he was a student of a Vedic Brahmin, strictly raised in that tradition. He ultimately gave up his throne and became a giant. And they say that he was one of the persons who was responsible for making Jain temples in the south. So in Karnataka. So it is not that you are born in a certain traditions. All are under the umbrella of Vedic Dharma. But then if there is a variation and you want to follow that path, because you think that is the way to avoid suffering or and get mukti, so be it. Freedom to think and act allowed everyone to participate in public discourses. So no one was asked to, you are banned. The platform was not denied to anybody, unlike these times. And unlike after the 1000 uh, common era, things are so different. There was no public discourse and there was no public forum. King's word was the root. So commonalities made assimilation easier. Non-violence made it possible for all to exist. So if we have to give the reasons of uh, underpinning of cultural unity, common thread, and the same different threads of the same tapestry, we have to highlight these points. Commonalities made assimilation and tolerance also, and non-violence to coexist. So recognition of the fact that there are many different ways to revert the supreme being, all paths are valid. So this helped the process of assimilation, the common cultural thread linking all minority faith tradition and rich Indian culture. Now, what became Pan-Asian culture means that right up to the eastern side of Russia, what these days is Russia, and Middle East, it was called mm, Asia Minor, and right up to the Greeks and Yugoslavia, uh, it was Indian culture and Indian faith tradition. The spread of ideas happened not because of the anybody went to conquer and spread the faith at the gunpoint or sword point. Then there were trade fairs. So where the traders used to meet every 3 months, exchange the and exchange ideas as well. So educational centers were all over the country. They were by 6th century Common Era. There were 19 universities. In the book itself, I have written down the names of 19 universities, and they were all over the country. And beside the universities, there were Math and Gurukul, so the grade schools kind of thing. So people who came as pilgrims, some came as tourists, and some came as students. So when they came here, they imbibed those ideas, took them back, and that they translated also. So Tibetans were the first to translate in whatever language they have um, the Vedic text. And adaptation of customs according to the ecological differences. So they may be wearing the Japanese dress in a particular kind of festival during that time, but that means nothing. These are ecological variations, and we adapt to that. So various countries later converted to Islam, but still follow Indian culture and celebrate Hindu festivals. And we are going to see those examples. So many philosophers, and now many philosophers and writers, I would say that they are unbiased uh, to a great extent if they acknowledge this thing that in ancient Asia Minor and Anatolia followed Vedic Dharma. So one example I want to give that the names of Shiva, Parvati, Uma, and Krishna, these were common. The sun was the most important um, energy that was worshipped all over. Now let's see the common word in Surya, whatever name we have many names of Surya. All of them they have one key Vyanjan, alphabet, letter, and that is R. So if you say Surya, Ravi, Prabhakar, Dinkar, uh, Mrigmarichya, Khagachya, I mean any number of names and that we can call sun in Sanskrit. All of them has R in that, R, Prakash again. And the African countries, they had their name for um, the sun, and Deva was Ra, right? So now we see the commonality. So specific names are there, which are Sanskrit, but before the impact was complete or partial, they only had one letter because so far nobody has been able to figure out what was the language of Misher. Misher was at that time the name of Egypt. So, but we know that Ra was the name. So from there, you see, the later when the Muslims came to India, a very interesting thing happened. The they knew the Ra from Arabian areas, and they also knew the word Ab, which is Apaha, water. So they joined together and they called that entity as the divine. Ra, Ba, Apaha, Ab, which is in Urdu, water. Rab. Rab is the most adequate or near perfect uh, name of the divine. Very simple. From all that is shining above to the depth of the water, that is the divine entity. Whatever it is everything and more than that. So, to my mind, of all the names that you can give to the divine Lord, Isha or Ish or Jagadish or Vishwadeva, Rab is the easiest one to understand and say. And it is commonly used in northern India. So in his book, India in Greece, this is a quote. The term Syria derived from the Indian tribe that under the appellation of Surya of the sun. So they gave enduring name to Surya, now Syria. So he added that once upon a time, Hindu Dharma prevailed all over ancient Mesopotamia, and I have already named, and will show with the help of the map. People worship the Vedic sun Deva. So, characteristics of synthesis in Thailand. That is interesting uh, because you see, in India, Gautam Buddha, his face is shown round, in and very curly, thick, matted hair. In Indonesia, I saw the figurines from that place, the artwork, and it shares very chiseled features and a narrow face, elongating, and a crown on his head, no matted hair. So you see, these are variations, but that is synthesis. That is called synthesis. According to their own features, probably they made the image in uh, um, that image. So Thai people adopted Buddhist and Hindu values, the five precepts, Panchashila, Ahimsa, and uh, non-fighting, non-possession kind of things. So threefold training, three gems, yogic discipline, three parts of the control of mind, control of the sense perceptions, and control of sense karmendriya. And the middle path is to avoid suffering. So why I am highlighting this, that cultures can spread without violence also, with kind of the human mind is curious. And whatever they really put their mind on and dwell on it, they remember. And then if generations follow, they practice and it develops into a kind of tradition. So some beliefs are diluted, but the traditions remain the more or less generation to generation the same. Vietnam, noticeable Hindu influence. In communist Vietnam, you are not allowed to profess any dharma, but they privately worship uh, Buddha. So many people who believe in Hindu beliefs, customs, they spread all over Northeast Eurasia. And in Eurasia, because and northern parts of tundra and eastern part of Russia, very inhospitable conditions, ecological conditions. So when it became difficult to grow anything in that harsh climate, those Hindu communities or say Bharatiya belief system, prophecy, they moved from place to place. And therefore, they were called gypsies. They were still there, they are still there. Druze, we mentioned before, they went to Lebanon, still there. Malaysia, Muslim country. And people known as the Malay trace their descent from Indonesian island of Java, Bali, Sumatra. These are Sanskrit names. Bali was in Ramayana, Sumitra was in Ramayana, and many other names. Originally, Thailand was called Siam, and this was tribal kind of group. And then underneath was Khmer and Champa. So the names change, the boundaries change. But what is enduring is the tradition and the culture, underpinnings of the culture. They absorbed Muslim uh, ways of living to some extent, but the commonality of culture remained till this day. And tourists go there and see what's going on. You see, so what it means is that this idea of Vedic Dharma spreading to Eurasia is not just a mythical thing that I'm making up or anybody else is making up. But this is something, the relics are still there. And some of them are very well maintained. Now, and this was the point, Sun Deva, in, and I think I flashed it before also, statue of Sun in Kabul Museum. I'm sure by this time, Kabul Museum is destroyed. And this was made by Kushans. Now, see, they came from a very harsh climate. Hmm? And they are wearing boots. Can you believe? Leg long shoes. And then the same thing, Trimurti, around the sun, there are two more devas and Devi. See how complete is the picture. But what is the dress? The dress shows the ecological differences in sculpture as well as in painting, architecture, um, and friezes. So this is a frieze, seen from Bhagavad Puran, Samudra Manthan. I showed it before. And this is in Cambodia. And I'll show you the one in Jakarta. Um, that is a really elaborate mural. Now, this is the main idea that has captured all of the uh, Eurasian parts. Even the Ten Commandments, they come from Dharamdas Lakshanam and also from some from the middle path of Gautam Buddha. So you can see these. This is from the airport in Jakarta. And how beautiful. And then this seems to be the beginning on this side. And these are all the devas. And we have not seen here the middle part where on the Sheshnag there is a Kurma, and on the back is the Meru mountain. So, I mean, it is going all the way to the wall. So, this is just a 1/4 of the mural. And you see that these dresses are Indian dresses, which means that the climatic conditions in those islands was almost the tropical climate. And since many of the people during the Shailendra dynasties and Cholas, they went there and they were wearing these kind of clothes. So that's the show, the customs. And this is Eurasia. Now this is Egypt, and that is Misr, ancient name, Sudan. And this area is Anatolia. This is Caspian Sea, and this is where eastern boundary of Russia is. Look at this. This here is Ukraine, and this is Black Sea, and this is the Ukrainian area where they are firmament worshippers. Okay, and all this was Pan-Asian culture, and this is the physical map. If there were a political map, probably boundaries of those ancient kingdoms could have been shown. I did not choose that map because they had artificially given names, and modern names and corrupted names. So this is the area, which is Vietnam, and this is Laos, and then Cambodia, Khmer, and Champa, and then there is Malaysia, Indonesia, all of these, and Philippines, and Japan. And on this side, Afghanistan, of course, was a Hindu kingdom. And all these were, Iran was Zoroastrian, and before that, Vedic Dharma. You can see the Pan-Asian culture. And the devastation the British and the Americans have done to the Pan-Asian culture, both physically and about the ideas. They have totally corrupted and destroyed between the Arabian borderers and the British uh, traders, they call themselves. Actually, they were pirates who came to different places and destroyed. Over the time, when the British left, they had separated so many of these areas from the Indian cultural, Indian geographical entity. Indian geographical entity was Burma. Burma was separated, given independence in 1945-46, something like that, because there was a rush from Burma. People came with bare minimum, they ran out. Same thing with Bangladesh, of course, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Persia. Alexander invaded, but went on. Nothing happened. But in the political map of ancient India, they have shown Greco-Bactrian empire. I mean, it was so revolting. Greco. This is Greece, and Greco-Bactrian empire. So that is why I preferred this map. So Sri Lanka, of course, is there, and all these islands. And they were under Hindu Pan-Asian culture. And we still have relics. And in Lebanon, we have the same Indian culture. So this you can pass it on to your younger generation to remember that without a fight, invasion, or a sword, the Indian culture had conquered, and it hasn't stopped. All the mathematical ideas which are considered European, they were already been developed and used in the temple architecture and Vedic Havan Kund and all that. We discussed it before. So even if you do all this distortion, some physical reality is still witness to the glory of the ancient India. So this map, please circulate. And with hand, you can put down the names on the map, print out where Champa was and where Khmer was and where modern day Laos is there and Vietnam is there. And this area was part of Korea and some part was China. And now what they are showing is the Greco Empire business and this area, Roman Empire, the rest of it, and this area, Silk Route to China. I mean, really the blood boils that they are what they are doing it to us and what the incompetent rulers of independent India, so called, did not contradict. They continued the same thing as if they are just blind followers of that. Hmm. Okay. Now we are coming to kingdoms, just a little bit, a glimpse. Now, interesting part is that most of the kingdoms which were there in at the time of Mahabharata, they were still there during the time of Alexander. And this is Magad. During the epic era, Magad was ruled by Jarasandh. Then his uh, descendants inherited, and they continued for a very long time, they say. But some part about, to my mind, about 1,500 years, 1,500 years, uh, we really have a lot of gaps. Dynasties, genealogies are there in the Puranas, but the events relating to those kings whose names are given in the genealogies are missing. And what they produced, key significant civilization um, landmarks, mention of that is not there. So suddenly we have a gap from Mahabharata on to 7th, 8th century BCE, before the Common Era. So we abruptly start. I'm giving you the reason why this abruptly start is there, because there is a person who followed the Puranas, Neeraj Mohamka, a young man when I met him. Uh, he made a royal chronology and traced all those kingdoms, even from Nal Damayanti and very, very ancient times. So we had a lot of discussion about that. These maps I got from a Jan professor. He gave me this ancient map of Magad. This is Mithila. That means at that time it was Janakpuri, and now this was part of, this is Pava, where Mahavir gave up his mortal body. This is Patna, which was Patliputra, Nalanda, Raigraha. These Rajgraha was the capital of Magad for a very long time. Then this is Gaya, and this is Bodh Gaya, and then down here is Sanchi. So Magad was parts of Bengal, parts of what we call Odisha, most parts, and then Madhya Pradesh and Delhi, Haryana, parts of Punjab, that side. What it means is these were not the boundaries all the time. The history of 1,500 years of Magad and India shows that the kingdoms, boundaries of the kingdoms changed. Obviously, internecine warfare, boundary shrank, they came back. So more or less, this is the map, contemporary map of when Mahavir and uh, Gautam Buddha were there. Okay. This is later on the Nanda Empire. Now later on, Patna was Patliputra. And all of these have, this is Takshila, this is Balakh, Balhika, and above that is Bukhara, and then there is Kabul here, and then there is Arat and Sindh. And so, this is the incomplete map because the person who gave me, he made a boundary during the line. During was a British surveyor, and when he separated in the 19th century Afghanistan from India, he made this line. This is called Durand line. So if you do not look at this line, then that means during the Magadh rule, at that time, this area was also part of the Indian subcontinent, not directly under Nanda, but non-Indian rule. And this was not just Nicobar Islands and small little islands and Bangladesh and Burma. It was all the way that I showed the map. So all of them were part of that. Okay. Now, dynasties, Janpada, Samrat, Chakravarti kings. So to thread various rulers and dynasties in a proper sequence, the best material that many people find, and I also found references, they are in Mahabharata and Ramayana and Bhagavad Puran, genealogies. And there is a American scholar, Dr. David Frawley. He has studied the genealogies, and he has written a book, uh, Kings, Sages, and Rishis. I may be wrong in one of them, but kings, sages, and they were Rishi probably. So, and then Buddhic Jatikas, they give a lot of details because they are more in Pali, in the language which could be understood and duplicated, and literature was spread out among the common people. And then Jan literature was all over the country. So these are the primary sources of these 1500 years. So Puranas are a source of Itihas and the genealogies. They help corroborate the available architectural evidence with the literary evidence. So literary evidence comes from Puranas, genealogies, and if you corroborate it by carbon dating, some of the ruins of the architectural sites, probably we can have a better idea of the missing 1500, about 1500 years. So, with reference to completing the account, I'm going to talk about Ajatashatru. That is where we are going to start the dynasty. So he was talking about Ajatashatru, the times. Neeraj Mahanka, the same gentleman, he noted, although we do not have much evidence to prove the validity of the pre-dynastic lineage, what was he referring to the missing 1500 years? Other than what is documented in the Puranas. Exactly. We also do not have any sure way to conclusively disprove it. I mean, the absence of the proof, evidence, that is not an evidence of absence. It just means that we haven't reached that proof or discovered that proof. So he says that even though we question the validity of the Puranas uh, lineages, but we cannot disprove it either. So he constructed the royal dynasties on the basis of Puranas. And then later on, there was a story of Bharatiya Sabhyata and Sanskriti. And that was in 18 volumes, only 16 were published by, by Sanskrit Sankalan Samiti. So the incidences of war or invasions were not the most important part of ancient Indian history. Though it is true that from time to time wars and the chaos altered the map of the kingdom, or even disappearance of a dynasty. You see? So why the kings are not so important? And that is also the students, when they are taught about Alexander and Nandas and all that. And the common saying was, why should I remember this? Even I question, why do I remember Babur? What exactly is has Babur to do with Indian history, except that he occupied some areas and devastated them? So what? So it should not, it doesn't deserve 10 pages, 15 pages. And this tussle is still going on in India. Um, they want that Muslim history should be prominent part of the, and the new curriculum has sandwiched it. 600 years or 300 years should not become like the whole history of India. So, so now Hindu Rashtra. So the map that was Indian subcontinent at the time of Mahabharata was a Hindu Rashtra, because the values are, cultural values are same, and dharmic roots are same. Traditions are almost similar, and cultural beliefs are exactly the same. So it does not and did not denote that there everybody is in Hindu Rashtra is Hindu or practicing Vedic Dharma. It doesn't mean that. Hindu refers to the geographical entity. The identity Hindu is anybody who is living in the subcontinent automatically is a Hindu. And Hindu is also not just limited to the mass area of the Indian subcontinent. It also includes the ocean and the language speaker. I mean, how many countries you can say that they have the same name as an ocean, as a continent, as a country, as a language, and as mountain area? You see? So, which means the whole geographical entity was Hindu, including Afghanistan and all those places. Sindh River, Hindu River, Indus River they call, but it was Sindhu River. So Sindhu is the Sarovar or flowing water. So Hindu Rashtra, Hindu refers to geographical identity. Everybody is a Hindu living in that subcontinent. It does not and did not denote that they are followers of Vedic. But it is a nation of all those various offshoots of Vedic Dharma. To those who are outside the bound of Dharma, their land is also Hindu Rashtra. Kautilya's, now this is interesting. As the ancient concept, it is also in the Vridd Arnaik Upanishad, but later on Kautilya wrote this. The area extending from the Himalayas in the north to the sea, presumably the southern tip reaching the Indian Ocean. Him, Hindu, and 1,000 yojanas wide from east to west is the area of the king emperor, with many kingdoms, vassals, Adivasis, republics, Janpada, you see, all of them living independently. But if there is an empire, that is Rashtra, Hindu Rashtra. He emphasized that the petty kingdoms have to unite and act as one nation. You see, kingdoms always were having internecine wars. Who is going to be the sovereign, uh, 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 supreme leader, Samrat? Who will be having the massive empire, Samrajya? So he said that we should shut away those kind of notions. The reason for that is that we have to protect our contiguous culture and sovereignty of Bharat as a nation. And his broad view has a certain experiential element because he was a teacher in Takshila. We showed where Takshila was, right in the corner of northwest, Gandhar. And the students who came to Takshila, they not only came from China and Afghanistan or Tibet or other places, they came from all the kingdoms which were in the country itself, in the subcontinent itself. So, because of this experience, he envisioned that all these who are having, they have the same core values, the same identity, and the core essence of culture. So he espoused this idea for the first time that unless it becomes the whole country is knitted, subcontinent is knitted in the Bharatiya nation, other countries will conquer us. And exactly that is what happened. Right before his eyes, Alexander came, and uh, because India was a separate kingdom, Ambi was bribed, and Porus was left alone, and his own brother was nowhere to see in the war. So, this kind of destruction he preached, and he is the major political vision of not just a country or a subcontinent or a nation, but he also gave the policy implementation and political philosophy for the entire Rashtra. His contributions are monumental. And it's a very short book. His actual name, given name was Vishnu Gupta, and his other name was Chanakya. So, so he went to Nandas and he said that please help those other kingdoms in the northwest. Otherwise, Alexander will kill them all. This, and he also said, this is the kind of invader we have never seen before because they not only kill the warriors, they kill the women, they kill the farmers, they kill the Brahmins, they kill anybody. So this is a different kind of enemy who does not believe in the Yuddha Niti, which is rules of ethics of warfare. So several kingdoms of Bharat Rashtra, Indian subcontinent have numerous, some are the size of a district, and some are as large as Magad and Kalinga. Mughal view. Mughal view, they called Delhi and adjacent areas up to Agra as emperors. But they understood that what a Hindu Rashtra is because Mughal kings used to call them um, uh, uh, Shahanshah, Hindu Shahanshah. So which means Shahanshah is the emperor. And British view also, they considered it as a nation even though never admitted. But Queen Victoria was declared as Empress of Empire. And when her son came to India, He was representative of Malkai Hind, Malkai Hindustan. So Hindustan. By the way, I forgot to mention that every country in Eurasia with the names Stan at the end, Stan, that which exists. And physically you can sit on that, Stan. So Kazakhstan, Dashkan, all of these stans are uh, from derivative word, tha, root word tha, stan. Nehruvian view secular um, didn't know what he was talking about, what the subcontinent is. He had zero knowledge and Muslim exploited. Considering the size of the subcontinent, each kingdom was almost the size of a European country or even larger. If you see the entire Eurasia and just narrow it down to Indian subcontinent with all the East Indian islands, uh, those countries are larger than any country, even Europe itself. So now relations between rulers and the people. So there is a transactional versus transform. Now this is the difference. In Indian subcontinent, the relation is transformational. Given independence to everybody, the artists are creating in their own way the art interpretation of the reality, and sculptors are doing their own job, temples are being made in their own way. Transactional is where the ruler comes into by sword or by sheer might, sometimes through patricide, sometimes through fratricide, killing brothers, killing father, and killing cousins, And transaction means that all the rulers has under them feuds and lords and a hierarchy of society. Each owes something to the king. So this is a transaction that they give tithe, 1/10 of their salary or even more to the king, and in return, the king will use their children in the warfare, mandatory. So this is a transaction. And now evaluate dharmic Rashtra and American democracy. It's a transaction. People give this, they get this. And now it has reached such a point of distortion, corrupt version, where the transaction becomes in favor of the whoever is ruling. So you give everything, and then they ask you to give donations as well. You have already taken the taxes from us. You've already taken whatever way you could take. And what are you promising us? Empty words like freedoms. What is freedom? We are not free to declare war. We did not opt for it. And this is not true of America. I'm just giving contemporary example, but actually it is true of any country. In India, Nehru, who authorized them to give away 1/4 of the country here, 1/3 of the country there, and just be left with this? Just because you are the leader, the ruler, nobody gave you the. So that government for 75 years was transactional. Nothing was transformed. Nothing was bringing in the forefront the ancient heritage or cultural values. Okay. So, and question, They said it was not transformational, it was oppressive. Power of Brahmins. Really, I never saw a Brahmin who was rich. I mean, when he is a Brahmin, when he is doing the Brahman's work, in the story also they say, a poor Brahmin came to the door. The beggar, Brahmin beggar came to. You see, they were giving on charity and power of the Brahmins. Judiciary and social rules, these were all dependent on the Janpadas and republics and local custom. Now, monarchs come and go. People as a cohesive unit, civil society as a continuity. This is the basic point of history. You see, you learn lessons from the idiots and poor choices of the monarchs, but then they come and go. They are irrelevant except they teach us a lesson. People as a cohesive unit, if that survives, then the country has a continuous history. Now, in an oscillating universe where everything is moving, shifting in turmoil, empires rise and decline. Power base shift, boundaries of kingdom change, allies shift sides. We have seen recently India considered this person as ally, this person. They were not. The main causes of these disruptions of decline and rise are invasions, shortfalls of leaders and rulers. I would I wrote decent language here, but you are allowed to call stupid choices of rulers. Lust for power and greed. Rise of untenable ideas and ideologies. And those are religions as well as communism, Marxism, blah, blah, blah. And then there is demographic changes. This is what is happening now. You see, whereas Hindus and Christians also, to some extent, they don't believe in having more than two kids. It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of this, that. Whereas there are some other groups who are multiplying like 500 times. There was a data from one hospital in Kerala, and I don't remember the names. But the difference was like in a year, if it is 1,000 children born to Hindus, just hypothetically, the actual numbers are different. The Muslims had 500,000, not 5,000, 500,000. And somewhere along the line, I'll bring the data just for um, those who are curious. So, shifting power base. In the Mahabharata times, it was Delhi and the central Ganga Valley. And then came Mughal, which was more toward the east. Then new ideas developed during that period when the center shifted. Prior to that, the center was Indus Saraswati river system. Both Buddha and Mahavir were in Magad. Kingdom of Magad was included all these areas I showed. Sources of information, rise of the Magad. These are I have given where you can get the ideas. Suryavansh continued, Kuruvansh continued for a long time. Besides these, there were several other kingdoms which continued up to Mahabharata times and later on. For example, Kakaiya was there at the time of Alexander. Notable kingdoms were, these are the names. Since lack of detailed information about the events connected with these dynasties, one can see some Puranas are here and there, some Gathas are there, stories, but hardly any. So this is where we are going to end today. We occupied what was the mother kingdom during the occupied was the mother kingdom. Then later on there was Pradyot, a commander of army who defeated Jarasandha's descendants. Then this dynasty continued, and then this dynasty came. Again, the names. Notable kings, Bimbisar and Bimbisar's son Ajatashatru. Why they were famous? Why we are mentioning these and not the others? The, during Pradyot and Shishunag, there were significant developers because not only Gautam Buddha and Mahavir, Sushrat, Jivika, Charak, many mathematicians, they were in this period. But since we are talking here about the kings, we only picked up two. Bimbisar was Shishunaga, and that is when Buddhism started spreading, and there was a prime minister at that time of Bimbisar who told to Bimbisar's son that you should kill your father because he is finishing the Vedic Dharma. So if the bots take over, what will happen to the Vedic people? So Ajatashatru tried to kill his father in sleep, but did not succeed. This was not his given name. Ajatashatru means the one who has given you the birth. You are trying to be his enemy. So that there are many literary works about Ajatashatru. So several events are mentioned about him in Buddhist Jatakas because he was enemy of Buddha. Later on, it weighs on him that he made a real bad choice, killing my own father. So he was so guilty, he went to Gautam Buddha and he said that, what can I do to atone my sins? Where will I get liberty from mental anguish? And Gautam Buddha said, you have already suffered, and now forget about it and be on the side of dharma and give freedom to people. Don't enforce. You try to enforce. This was the first time that the prince decides against the father and try to impose on the subjects. So does history help in better governance? Yes. So if it is taught properly, leaving out all those details of names and hard to pronounce words, we learn from the devastations. Why devastation took place? Let us not talk about earthquakes and volcanoes. They are natural calamities. Declaring war or negotiating peace. So there are four options before the war. You can make allies, give and take. You can give gifts. Then you can make win over the enemies of your enemy to your side. So make a rift between the two of your enemies since they don't consolidate. So this is all in ancient Niti Shastra. At some point, contribution of India to the ideas of the world, mankind, it will be detailed there. Look at Napoleon, Alexander, Hitler. What mistakes they made? They overextended their might and they undermined the other enemy. Does this ring a bell now? Yes. that within 3 days, Russia thought Ukraine will be ours. And within 48 hours, we will defeat Iran. And now we are all in the kind of such a turmoil. Nobody knows how to exit. Exit should be the same way as the entrance. If you enter this way, then you exit the same way. You can't ask the other person that you move further so that I am called the winner at the cost of the people. And these are the lessons we learned. At the end, all of them overextended. Hitler overextended, Napoleon. Alexander thought he was actually a first class fool. He didn't conquer anything. He defeated them, moved on. And at the end of his 26 years of his life, he had nothing, not even the place for his grave. The Chandragupta, what do we learn? Ashoka, and then these two. Do the rulers really learn from the past? Well, if they know history, learn about their past, they will. Otherwise, India is facing 9 states which are about to uh, declare their independence from India. Separatists, 9 minority states who are either creating the disruptions, riots, and class war along religious lines, or they are simply trying to be separate country. People living here who are never going back to be cremated there, they also want that India should be bifurcated for them. So, do the rulers really learn from the past? At least I want the people who read Indian history or just get a glimpse of what we are talking about, that they will do better governments and they would be better subjects. They rise against idiotic rulers. Thank you. And that's it.